Hello, Howell Carnegie District Library artists. Today we are doing a paint your pet. So you can be painting your own pet, you can be painting a pet that you like, an animal that you like. We're painting an animal based on a photo that you have. So we need that photo, of course, and we need our water, our brushes, our paint, something to put our paint onto, a little palette for our paint, and a towel, and something to draw on your palette with. I'm going to use a marker. If you have a paper plate as your palette, you can use pencil. Whatever works well for you is just fine. We are going to start with our color wheel. Let's start with our color wheel first. No, let's draw first. I was thinking let's save it, but actually let's not. Let's get to it so we can put it away and we can come back to it. So you're going to have your photo. Here's the photo that I'm working from. And most likely your photo isn't going to be cropped exactly perfect how you want it to be. So what you're going to do is crop it. All right. Now, if your photo is printed, you can draw on it. If it's printed in black and white, take a red marker and draw on it and outline so you can see where things are. Another thing that you can do is make a grid. Okay. Divide into 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see, like if I had it here, you can see, all right, well, the nose is, right in the middle. My right eye is right in the center, and left eye is off to the side. That's one way to do it. So if you have it printed, you can draw the quadrants on it. You can draw an outline, or you can just kind of wing it. I suggest winging it because that's going to get you into the right spirit of this painting. If we're doing the whole, and be drawing lightly. If you've already started while I'm still talking, make sure you're drawing very, very lightly. Like I, said, this is not going to be perfect. We're not making a perfect painting. We're making a painting of our pet. It's going to be flawed just like our pet is, right? So I suggest you just go for it. But we're going to go for it with a very, very light touch for 2 reasons. 1, we can erase easier with a light touch. And 2, when we put our paint on top, we're not going to see it through the paint as much if it's very light. If it's very dark, it's going to show through, and you might be unhappy with that if you're using a light color. For example, like yellow on your background, if you can see that pencil through, it might bother you. So a light touch is going to be better. So like I said, if you want to make quadrants, divvy it up, you can do that. If you want to outline the basic shapes in marker, you can do that. I'm obviously working from my phone. Probably most of you are working from your computer or from your phone too. So I'm just going to wing it. Now, first thing is you don't want your head of your pet right in the middle. So I don't want my head of my pet right here. I want it off to the right, off to the bottom, off to the left, something like that. So if my pet is looking off to the left a little bit, I think I'm going to move my pet's head off to the right a little bit. And that's up to you. You can also think about going, horizontal or vertical. I am going horizontal. Nope, this is horizontal. I'm going vertical. This is horizontal. I'm going vertical. I'm going to go this way. And I'm going to think about my space. So I want my pet's head to be up here. So I'm just going to kind of draw the basic shape of my pet's head. And this is actually not my pet. This is a new pet that my stepbrother just adopted. And now before I really commit to that space, I want to decide, and you guys can't see it at all. I want to decide, do I want to be bigger or do I want to be smaller? My head is only about this big, and I think I actually want to be bigger. So I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to actually zoom in on my photo a little bit. And I think I should draw darker for you guys so you can see. So what I'm going to do is draw with pencil first, and then I'm going to outline it in Sharpie so you guys can see it a bit better. And I want to really go for it with this size. I think I want my mouth way down here. And that'll be more fun. Nose off to the side. And now I've kind of ended up in the middle. Yeah, you guys can see that. Kind of ended up in the middle. So I think I'm going to actually move it up. But I'm going to go ahead and draw with my Sharpie so you guys can see a bit better. So I'm going to break this head down into the basic shapes. I got the nose, I got the mouth, I've got the whole head, and I've got the ears, right? And of course the eyes. And I think I want my head to kind of be high up top. And I think I want to keep my nose kind of where it was. And this dog has some really distinct spots. So I'm going to draw those spots. And if I make mistakes at this point, that is not a big deal. You guys are using pencil. Erasing is going to be nice and easy. I'm using Sharpie. Erasing is not going to be a thing I'm going to do. And that's okay. We're going to work with it. And what we're doing right now is we are just following the lines that we see. You can see I'm moving where this dog's nose is. That's okay. Just kind of feeling out the space. And you might already be frustrated. And if you are, then just kind of let it go. Abstract. It's going to be a little bit abstract. Abstract means a little bit imperfect, right? That's fine. That's what we're doing. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just drawing, and maybe you're drawing with the quadrants, maybe you're drawing with your lines that you drew on your pet itself. If this is driving you crazy, that might be a good way to go. If you can draw on your, actually here, I'll show you. If you're on a phone, you could take a screenshot and draw the basic shapes. This is actually going to be helpful. I should have did this before. So now I can see, okay, this is what I want my outline to look like. And I'm going to actually use this as a reference too, because why not? And I almost have this. And my nose I can see is lining up with my ear. So just look and see like what's lining up with what. And then if I do want to start playing around with some details, I can. But lots of this is going to get lost as we start to put our paint on top. So I don't want to spend too much time with my details right now. I just want to get to a point where I feel like I have my basic shape for my pet or my animal, whatever my animal is. And then I'm happy with my composition, where it is on my page. And you guys saw I moved it around a couple times. I moved my whole canvas onto the floor. you can move yours around a little bit. If you need to pause this video to pick up your canvas or to change up your painting, you can. This is really all that we need for our sketch. And you can see I moved mine around quite a bit, and I changed the size of it to try to make it use the space how I think it should. And so now the only thing that I really need to define is the end of the body down here. And this dog's actually sitting. So he's got his body here, and his body is back here as well. So this is all going to be body. And a little bit of fat flab. And then this is going to be my background up here. So most of it, I'll draw that color too, why not? Most of this is going to be dog. I'm not going to have very much background, which is kind of fun, I think. I like to draw really, really big and paint really, really big. If you want more of a background, go for it. This is your painting. Do what you feel. Maybe what I need to do is take this off and try again. We got these really nice thin canvases, which are great for travel, but a little bit more difficult for easel. All right. You can pause this and you can finish your drawing, but what I want us to do now is to stop looking at our drawing, take a break from it, come back to it with fresh eyes after we make our color wheel. Grab your canvas when you're ready and stop looking at your painting. Stop looking at it. We're gonna do our color wheel, which is the shape of a circle or an egg. And we need a triangle inside. And these spots where our triangle touches our egg are our primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. If we mix these three together, we're going to get brown. So that can be used to our advantage or not. Just be aware when you mix those three together, you get brown. It's a little bit more difficult than you think, so that's why we gave you brown. When we mix together blue and red, we're going to get violet or purple. When we mix together our red and our yellow, we're going to get orange. When we mix together our blue and our yellow, we're going to get green. My color wheel's a little bit imperfect. If yours is too, that's so fine. All right, grab your big brush, whatever big brush you've got, get it a little bit wet. If it's brand new, woo-woo, get it wet and clean off the kind of like gluey residue that's on there, which kind of just keeps it in place. In the store, it keeps it from, getting all bent up and yucky if people are messing with it. And we are going to put, let's start with actually, we're going to do this kind of in a smart way. Usually I have you guys do red, blue, and yellow, and then we mix it all together. But it would be smart and save us a second. Put yellow here, and then also put yellow where you're putting your orange and where you're putting your green. This is just going to save us a minute of like scooping the yellow 3 times. When we mix our red with our yellow and our blue with our yellow, we need a lot more yellow than blue or red because blue and red are a lot darker. So a little bit of each goes a long way with our yellow. So we start with a big glob of yellow for our green and for our orange. So let's just do that. That's fine. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's grab our red. Put your red on your red spot. And now with that dirty brush, take your dirty brush. Oh, this is such a time saver. I'm going to do this from now on. and mix it into your yellow. So that was just a dirty brush into that big old glob of yellow. And you can see this is a pretty dark orange. I didn't even get all the red off my brush. This is pretty dark orange. That is how strong red and blue are. And blue is actually a bit darker and a bit stronger. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to do the same thing with my blue. Stirring my brush into my cup. Making sure it looks good and clean, and then dab it down. And if it looks like it's still dirty, I can grab a little bit more water, stir it up a little bit better. All right, so now I'm putting my blue in my B spot, and I'm going to make sure my brush is even a little bit more clean, but still, still dirty, but a little bit more clean. Stir it in with my yellow, and now I've got green. And this whole time, we've not been looking at our picture on purpose. On purpose. We have not been looking at it. All right, and lastly, we're going to make our violet. And our violet is made with red and blue. And like I said before, red is a little bit not quite as strong as blue, so I'm going to start with my red this time. So I'm going to grab my red, clean that up a little bit, and clean my brush. And I'm going to grab some blue. And I dipped into my blue. And when I look at this, it's going to look kind of like a really deep maroon. So what I can do if I want it to be quite a bit lighter is I can add some white to it. And I can do that with any color. When I add white to any of these, it's going to make them more pasty and more like an Easter color. Let me show you guys. With some white. This is kind of the purple that you're used to. Kind of the more classic purple. All right. So as you're playing around with your color wheel, think about or make the color that you want for your background. This painting is for my stepbrother, and I think he would want either an orange or a blue background. So I'm going to look at my picture one more time and decide. Well, his collar's orange, so I should do a blue background. There we go. And do I want it to be this plain blue? I'll try it out a little bit lighter and see. I could add a little black to it too. Kind of gray it up a little bit if I wanted to. Try it out. Why not? Clean off your brush in between grabbing your different colors. And the next thing that we're going to do after we figure out our background color, ooh, that's pretty. Next thing we're going to do is play around with our neutrals, which is our brown, our black, our white. Ooh, I like that. That's pretty nice. Because your pet is probably neutral colors. So first thing I want you to do is put that paint onto your canvas, your background color, so we can let that dry while we create our neutral colors. Right? If you want to get your edges, you can. And for me, this is actually color of dog. This is dog body. So this is my only part that's my background. So whatever part is your background, let's get that on there so it has a moment to dry. Because when we make our colors of our pet, it'll be easier for us if our canvas is dry at that point. because wet paint with wet paint mixes. So if I don't want my blue to get onto my dog and mix with his black and white spots, then I need my blue to be dry. Also, with acrylic paint, it does dry pretty quick. And what's kind of neat is if you make a boo-boo and you need to erase, let your paint dry, put white on top of it, and then let that white paint dry. And now you've got canvas white again, which is nice. All right, so this dog is black and white with brown eyes. Your pet might be orange, your pet might be yellow, gold, whatever color it might be, it's probably a neutral color. So our neutral colors are going to go on the inside. They can honestly take up all this space, and you can use all the outside for your color mixing. And that'll work well. So I'm going to take my brown, and we did give you brown, because brown is actually a little bit difficult to mix. So we gave you a nice brown to start with. Isn't that nice? And they say, good rule of thumb, when you're using black, if your dog is black, or your cat, or your penguin, they say don't use black plain straight out of the tube. You want to mix it a little bit. So even if you're not using brown, you still want to get a little bit of brown on your palette. All right, I'm going to take a nice amount of white here. Can never have too much white. I'm going to take 2 big old scoops of white because I've got some gray on my dog. I've got some white on my dog. So I need a decent amount of white. And then I need some black. So grab my black. And black is really bold, and it goes a long way, just like blue does. So we don't need too much of it. All right. And now we're going to, let's take a smaller brush to do a little bit of mixing. Unless you need big puddles, you can take a bigger brush. I'm going to mix some of my black with some of my brown and see how that's starting to look. I'm going to mix it in with some of my white, see if I can get a kind of like a gray color that I am interested in. If I need to add a little bit of yellow to this, I can show you guys how that might look. If you need to make it a little bit more lively. If you're just going crazy with this and you want to have your pet be like purple and orange, that's cool. Do it up. And just kind of playing around. Like I said, brown is made with yellow, red, and blue. So if I mix any of these colors into my brown, it's going to still be brown. If I mix a lot of blue into it, it's going to be a very, very blue-brown. Be careful of that blue. Yellow, again, is the weakest color, so we can use yellow. You saw me just go for it with no worries in the world. Yellow gets muted out very, very easily. Red, on the other hand, is pretty strong, kind of like our blue, but our blue is very, very bold. It's going to turn it into a whole different color very, very fast. All right, so make a few different puddles or piles of your color. Change it up a little bit. We want some options as we get going. And my pet has brown eyes, it looks like. So I'm going to make a nice brown. It's almost like brown with some green, maybe. It's hard to see. I think I'm going to start with some green and then put some brown on top. And color is fun. If I'm wrong, I'm sure they won't mind having a little bit of green on there. I'm going to start with some green. Then I'm going to add some brown on top. I'm going for the eyes first. If you're drawn to a different part of your canvas first, that's fine. Go for wherever pulls you in. I'm going for the eyes first because that's where I'm just kind of feeling inspired to go. It is nice to start with the eyes too, because then you can let it dry once again, and you can go on top with some more detail later. So actually, I do suggest going for the eyes. Let's do the eyes. Stirring your brush into your cup as you're changing your colors. I'm using a smaller brush now. And I can go over any of this later, so I don't need to be terrified. This is just the beginning. So, don't be scared to go for it. And I'm going to use plain black on the inside of the eye. I know I said I'm not supposed to, but I do it anyway. I don't know. You guys can do whatever you want. It's up to you. I'm going for it. And I'm going to mix a little bit into the side of the eye too, because it looks like the side of the eye is kind of dark on mine. All right, and I'm going to leave my eyes like that for right now. I'm going to pull it over so you guys can see. This is not perfect. We're not looking for perfection, just getting some paint on the canvas, okay? All right. So mine is white and gray and black. And like I said, black is really, really strong. So I'm going to actually start with my whites and my grays. I'll turn this upside down because it's making a little bit of a mess. Let's start with my whites and my grays, because if I make a boo-boo with my black, it's going to be a little bit of a mess. And you can see I have lots of spots on my dog. I'm just kind of going for an all over right now to an extent, and then I'm going to add some details on top. I'm only doing the part that's gray and white right now. I'm not doing the black part right now. And here's the part on my blue that I need to go over. And you can see my blue is dry, so I went right on top of it with my white. And I brought back the correct head shape nice and easily, which is great. The white actually covers really, really well. So like I said before, if you make a boo-boo and you go on top of it with white paint, let it dry, that's like erasing. If you don't let it dry and you just keep painting, it does cover it pretty well. You guys are going to see my lines. I can see my lines. So I'm going to need some more layers if I don't want to be able to see my lines. So I might want to get some more layers on mine. It's getting a little bit more brown than I'd like, so I'm going to blacken this up a little bit. And again, I'm starting with my lighter color. I'm going to let that dry, move on to my darker color, and then come back to my lighter color. That's the beautiful thing about acrylics, is that you can let it dry, come back to it, and go right on top of it. Sorry, this is a new easel, and I'm still figuring it out. Maybe I need to put a towel underneath it. I don't know. At least my top is dry, so I can just shove that in there. Maybe that'll be better. Maybe I'll just shove it in there. You guys can still see it. Yeah, that's fine. Better than knocking it down. All right, now that I kind of have all over color, I'm going to start adding some details. And this was my white and gray space. So now I'm going to look at it and I'm going to see which parts are lighter and which parts are darker. And I'm going to start lightening them up, darkening them up. And it's still a bit wet at this point. My painting is still a bit wet. So as I add paint to it, oh, that fits kind of perfectly. As I add wet paint to wet paint, it's going to mix a little bit. So I can use that to my advantage and have it all kind of blend together nicely. I'm using a big brush right now because it's a big space. If you've been using a small brush on a big space, you might want to switch over. My trick is to squint at your picture, at your painting, and at your picture to get an idea of what needs to be changed. It gives you that perspective of being farther away from it. Or you can actually go and move your body and get a little bit farther away from your painting. All right, so I got my lighter, now I'm going to get my darker. And since my paint is still wet, it is going to blend and mix together, like we said. So if I want that to happen, I can kind of be a little bit feathery with my brush, and I can kind of blend my colors together. If I like it to look more painterly, like strong lines of paint on my canvas, I can leave it as lines of paint like that. That's pretty fun to do too. And this dog actually gets pretty dark here, so I don't need to be afraid of this color. Now I'm kind of lightening up a spot that I see needs to be a little bit lighter. Try to notice the change in value, the lights and the dark, and try to emphasize that. And that's going to make it have that form. It's going to look more three-dimensional as you get those bits of light and dark on there. It's going to really make it look more real. I'm ready to move on. When you get stuck, or when you feel like you're ready to move on to a different spot, go ahead and move on to a different spot. I think I'm going to go for my dark now. My dark blackish color. And I am mixing it with brown, like I said. So it's not plain black, but it is still pretty dark. And again, we're getting the basic overall shape, overall colors, and details are the last thing. So we do not need our details just yet. When you need more paint, go ahead and grab it. Make sure your brush is nice and clean. If you're scooping into your black, it's not such a big deal. If you didn't hear me clean my brush when I said that, it's because I was scooping into black. And you can't really damage your black. You can damage all your colors though. You do not want to take a dirty brush into your yellow or your white, or your blue or your red. Try to notice the little bumps, the little things about the shape that kind of identify, here's the eye, here's the bone of the cheek, right? Try to notice those little bumps and try to get those at this point, since we're doing the overall shape. But again, this is going to be a little bit abstract. It's not going to be perfect. So if your bumps are a little bit off, that's fine. And trust me, if you're frustrated by how this looks today, tomorrow you're going to look at it and you're going to not even notice half the things that are bothering you today. And if this is a gift, the person you give it to is not going to notice what you notice. When you have a smaller space, use a smaller brush. Clean off your brush when you're not using it. And when you're ready, start adding details. Go for it. Small space needs a small brush. If your brush is making a line that you are not caring for, then switch your brush. I'm looking for lights and darks right now, and I see that the body of the dog that I'm looking at is darker in the back, so I'm going to identify that space as darker. Sometimes it's helpful to pause and just look. Stepping back from your painting is a good idea. Move away from it. It's kind of nice that we only have an hour and a half to do this, so you're not going to be too perfect. What's kind of happening with my brush right now is a dry brush technique. The texture that it's making is, it's kind of sitting on top of the canvas, and it's leaving, I'm going to move my camera to this. It's leaving this kind of texture that you can see is a bit bumpy. And that's because my brush is somewhat dry. There's not a lot of paint on it. So that is something that you can use to your advantage. If you like this technique, you can play around with it. If you want to get your brush very wet, by contrast, if you want to get it very, very wet, do some kind of drippy things with yours. It's up to you. If this painting doesn't turn out perfect, and you do it all over again in a couple days, that's fine. That's better than being afraid of trying something today and holding back. Don't hold back on your canvas, because you're not going to learn, for one, and you're not going to have as interesting of a painting as you could have had if you would have tried that thing that you were kind of afraid to try. Still has spots. So I'm going to add some spots. I'm doing kind of darker spots right now, and then I'm going to add some lighter ones. And again, there's no wrong way to do this. The more fun you have with it, that's going to show in your painting. If your painting looks like you had fun with it, it's, you know, it's going to be more beautiful. So have fun with it. But what I keep looking for, like I was saying, is lights and darks. What needs to be lighter? What needs to be darker? Where can I add a bold line? To make this painting more interesting? Even in my really dark areas, I do notice that there should be a little bit of light here. Try to notice even the littlest changes that you can make to add interest to your painting. Again, that variation with the light and dark is going to let your painting come off of the surface. It'll give it that form that we want. It looks funny in the camera. Oh, because I moved it. Because I was frustrated that I wasn't looking straight on it. Also, maybe, let me turn this. I'm going to back up from mine. I think my eyes look a little bit funny. Yeah, they do. And that's kind of fun, though. At this point, you're going to want to just go with it. As you're ready to add those details, the farther and farther you get, you're going to start to realize that's what you've got left, is details. So as you're ready, start adding those. And I'm trying to fix my eye a little bit. There are some highlights on my dog's nose that I want to make sure I add. Those little things are going to make a big difference. And I'm using a very small brush now. I'm getting to the point that I want to add those details that are going to make it look complete. So if there's a spot that looks unnecessarily messy, now is when I'm going to kind of clean it up. I'm trying to notice little things about your pet that make your pet unique. Little characteristics that you can kind of emphasize. Like a little shape in one part of the face that kind of stands out to you. And then again, step back and look at it and see what is not working. And another trick is to actually take a photo of your painting, because when we are sitting on top of it, our perspective is funny. So I could take a photo of it and I can see what needs to be changed about it. Gives me a different perspective on it. And so when I look at my photo, I think I don't really care for these lines here. These lines here look too scratchy. I want to darken up this part and add some dark here. And I'm liking a lot of this, but I want to make that not so bold. So I have a few things that I want to do. Kind of assess on yours. What do you need to do to make yours just right? Might be nice to take a photo of it. If you didn't do that just then, take a photo of it and do what I just did and assess what needs to be changed. And how can you change the way that you're using your brush to fix those little things about your painting that are bothering you? I found too that more brush strokes around the eye area is kind of nice. We really like to look at eyes. So even just adding some more brush strokes, just for the sake of adding some more brush strokes, is a nice thing to do. Changing up your brush, using a really tiny one. To get some details. And even just a little bit more texture. As your painting starts to dry, the parts that are darker are going to start to look lighter. So you're going to be able to see if there's anything that you want to do to add a little bit more variety to those really dark parts. You want to have some brush strokes on there so that it looks more interesting. You don't want a big space of just plain, dark. So mine is a little bit hard to see on the computer, but I was working on adding some brush strokes onto my dark spaces. And I'll pick up my canvas and show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me show you that, and then I need to fix up this spot. So still I know it is a bit hard to see, but you can see there is a change in the value even on that really, really dark black spot. And that's adding some interest to the painting in person. And probably when I photograph it and add that picture, that's what I'll do. I'll add the picture over here and you'll get to see it does add something to it. So I need to fix this. I think some details of white might be my final step for this. When you think you might be done, take a photo again, I suggest, and assess what's bothering you about it. And when you're done, you're done. And when you step away from it and leave it for a day, like I said, parts that were bothering you are probably not going to bother you so much anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and take a photo of mine and see if there's anything that's standing out to me that's really bothering me. And I think what's bothering me is this space. It looks too flat. I think I'm happy with the rest of it. And this is a little bit sharp. I think I'm going to fix that and fix this and be all done. Yes, that's what I'll do. So look at yours and assess, what do I need to do to be happy with mine? Give me a bigger brush. Hopefully you got to play around with some different textures. I think that's what I need here, is a little bit. Different texture. That looks better. And then I think I need some bold lines, and then I think I'm done. Let me see a couple details on this pup that I should bring back. Maybe this shouldn't be so bold. So just the little things at this point. What's going to make you happy with your painting? Don't overdo it. And when you reach that point when there's nothing that's glaring at you as being not what you want, then it's time to call it. And you've done it. Oop. Why can't I hold this straight for you guys? Here it is. Nice job, guys. If you are, not done, you can keep going. At a certain point, though, just stop, set it aside, look at it tomorrow. And the things that were bothering you might not bother you tomorrow. But like I said, keep touching it until you reach that point where you're like, yeah. And if you don't get there and you have to scrap this one and start again another day, that's always an option too. Like I said, for erasing, take your white paint, let it dry. Take your white paint, let the white paint dry, and then now it's clean, fresh canvas. So if there was a spot on this that you really butchered, you can do that. You can put some white paint on top of it and call it erased and do it again. But you guys did great. However it turned out so far, happy with it or not happy with it, you should be proud of yourself for going for it. You did a good job, guys. See you next time.